on or about May the 26th, 2015.
As a patrol officer for the city of Abbeville.
Now, Officer Mize, were you supposed to go to training on the 27th?
Yes, sir. I was.
Tell me what happened on May the 26th. Tell me your whole day.
On May the 26th, I spoke with Acting Chief Kevin Wright in reference to the training class, which I had previously done.
That was going to be in Montgomery.
In Montgomery, yes, sir.
2.5 hours away.
Yes.
Okay.
And he stated that he was going to have Officer Mullins drive us up there. I explained to him that I was going to work a 12-hour shift, and then from 3 until 6.
Tell us your shift.
3 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift. So I got off at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were leaving the city of Abbeville at 6 o'clock to be a class in Montgomery at 9 a.m. And the class was supposed to run from 9 o'clock until 4 o'clock, and then we would have to drive back the 2 hours. And at that time, I wasn't living in Abbeville. I was living in Headland. So everybody had planned to meet here to drive to Montgomery. So I would have had to have driven a city vehicle, being that tired, for a half hour to my house in Headland.
Safe to say, from May the 26th, when your shift started,
Yes, sir.
until after going to Montgomery, getting back, and driving home, you'd be up approximately 29 hours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Safe to say you were tired?
Yes, sir.
Officer Mize, when you'd get off your shift at approximately 3 a.m.,
Yes, sir.
you had to driven home, which is, let's say, 20 minutes, is that safe to say?
It's about a 25 to 30 minute ride.
Let's go
If
30 minutes.
if the traffic's.
If the council wants to take it less than 5, but for easy math, I practice law, not science,
Yes, sir.
you've been a doctor, 30 minutes to get home,
Yes, sir.
so you're home at 3:30.
Yes, sir.
Then you've got to go back to Abbeville to get in the car and go to the meeting.
Yes, sir. That's,
Okay.
that's another 30-minute drive
So
back.
30 minutes. So you would approximately, at the best case scenario, given the benefit of the doubt to time,
2 hours.
2 hours sleep at the most.
Yes, sir.
That does not include packing, getting ready, taking a shower to go.
Yes, sir.
2 hours. That's if you left sweaty out of your uniform and went straight out of there, you got 2 hours of sleep.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go ahead and tell the council, somebody else was gonna drive, correct?
Yes, that was Officer Garrett Mullins.
Okay. According to the policies and procedures of Abbeville, would you have been allowed to sleep at the meeting? Or
No.
the training session?
No, if you are falling asleep or are caught sleeping, it is against policy and you can be in trouble.
The class was scheduled for 5/27.
Okay, 5/27.
And they worked the night before, but they were starting their off days that following night. So they had time, and actually Officer Mize got off at 3 a.m., so he had time to sleep before they had to leave the class.
Okay, and you were aware that they had to be in Montgomery, what, 8 o'clock?
I believe 8 or 9.
Okay, and you were willing to accommodate him as far as having somebody pick him up at home or
Yes.
anything of that nature?
Correct.
Okay, and when May the 27th rolled around, did Officer Miles attend class?
No, sir, I didn't find out until after 4 o'clock that afternoon. Officer Mullins and Officer Mott, the other 2 officers from his shift that went, were here turning in their certification from the class. I asked where Officer Mize was, and if he had just gone, if they had dropped him off at home, and they didn't answer for a minute. They looked to each other, and I asked them what was going on, and they finally admitted they didn't want to tell me that Officer Mize had told them he was not going to go.
Officer Robin, Dustin Fowler, represent Mr. Mize. Now, you said you gotta follow lawful orders to run a proper police department, is that correct?
Correct.
Gotta follow the law, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Officer, on May the 26th, would you agree with me that Officer Mize worked from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.?
That's his schedule.
So that's fair.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm not trying to trick you. Either he did or he didn't.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Seminar's on the 27th, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he'd have to be in Abbeville at 6 a.m., is that fair to say?
It depends on what he worked out with his shift mates as far as transportation.
What time they have to be in Montgomery by 8 for training, is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. So he had to leave here, you give me Montgomery's 2-hour ride?
Yes, sir.
Okay, safe 2-hour ride. Okay. So he'd have to go from 3 a.m., getting off, and then have to be at the police department by 6 a.m., correct?
If they met here, yes.
Okay. You'd agree with me, 30-minute ride from his house to the police department?
I know I know at the time, he was living somewhere around Headland.
So if I told you that, you wouldn't disagree?
20 to 30 minutes.
Just give me 30, how about that? By the time you get in the car, get dressed, take a shower, right? You can do that. So he would have had, if he'd have come home exactly at 3 a.m., he gets home 3 a.m., he has to drive back, that's 3:30, got to be there by 6, he had about 2.5 hours sleep, correct?
About that, yes.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. So he goes to Montgomery. He's there till 5, is that fair to say, maybe?
I think they got out between 3 and 4 that
Okay.
day.
How about 3? I'll give you that day. Then it's another 2-hour ride back. You're aware, you'd agree with me based off these time frames. He'd have been up for 29 hours, correct?
Well, the plan was for Officer Mullins to drive while the 2 night shift officers slept on the way up there and back.
You think it's comfortable sleeping in that car?
It's possible.
Right. Officer, you said, can't ignore the law, you gotta know the law, right? Officer, I'm gonna present you with something. The Department of Labor and Federal Law, Fair Labor Standards Act. I'm gonna let you show that, I've shown it to your attorney. Under federal law, employees are supposed to get an uninterrupted nights of sleep if they've been up for more than 24 hours, at least 5 hours uninterrupted. You see that, 5 hours uninterrupted. You'd agree with me that you've got to obey federal law, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't know this law, did you?
I wasn't familiar with that.
But you'd agree with me if you've told people before, and I'm really not trying to be a smart aleck, ignorance of the law is no excuse, correct? You told people that before, correct?
I may have.
So you'd agree with me by him traveling up there, because this is an uninterrupted sleep, and your attorney has stipulated it's not comfortable to sleep in those. You'd agree with me if he'd have done that.
I said the cage.
The cage, okay, the cage is uncomfortable. You'd agree with me that he'd be violating federal law. I mean, I'll let you read it against in black and white. I'm not pulling no punches with you, officer.
Okay.
For a police officer, we tell citizens all the time, hey, I didn't know I was speeding. Well, man, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You can't go 70, 55. I didn't know. It's going to be helpful for police officers too in the city as well. And Mr. Danzy agrees, Officer Wright agrees. You have written this man up and taken his money because he did not violate federal law. The United States Department of Labor, Fair Labor Standards Act points out clearly, if you work more than 24 hours, you have to have 5 hours of sleep. They go so far as not to just say 5 hours of sleep. They say 5 hours, enjoy an uninterrupted night's sleep. That is federal law. You wrote him up for not violating the law. As Officer Wright said, I wrote him up for not violating my order. Well, his order can't preempt federal law. I mean, how far are we going to let it go? Go out there and beat that man to death because I say so? Well, you can't do that. You can't violate any law. Second thing, he's on a police vehicle. Y'all actually have noticed now, and I'm not your attorney, but I do plaintiff's litigation. And I have sued cities before. You're on notice now that your police officers are up for over 24 hours and possibly driving police vehicles home. If he drove that police vehicle and hit somebody, y'all are liable. On his orders, you're all liable, and it's a good case because his chief or his supervisor sent somebody home after 29 hours to drive back home on a police vehicle. Amic, who is most likely your insurance carrier, is that correct, Mr. Nancy? Would have a fit about this. I'm not sure you couldn't pierce the corporate veil because of the wanton conduct. Officer Miles did nothing wrong. He obeyed the law. The only thing Officer Ryan is mad about is he disobeyed his orders. He told his supervisors, hey guys, there's an issue. There's an issue about me being up for 24 hours. There's an issue. Nobody did anything. It's not his job to change his schedule. His supervisors are in charge of following the law. I'm glad that he knows that now, and the council is on notice of this, because if this keeps happening and somebody's injured, I'm going to be honest with you, I want the case. I do. Because you're putting people out there with less than 5 hours sleep, violating federal law, and if they injure somebody, you're on the hook because everyone here, including Mr. Danzy, knows this now. You can't do it. And you can't write somebody up and punish them for following the law. Now, they say he didn't know about it. He says he did. We got it right here. Obviously, he was right. He followed the law. He never should have been written up for something for not violating the law. His orders, he's in charge, I agree. He can't order someone to violate federal law, period. I don't think Mr. Danzy would dispute this is the law. Has to have 5 hours of interrupted sleep. It's impossible for him to do that. They went to use words such as enjoy and uninterrupted night's sleep. I feel confident the courts would say riding in a police vehicle with the other officers on the road to Montgomery is not enjoying interrupted night's sleep. It is not. To say that is foolish. That's a fool's game. I ask that he be reinstated, or his pay be reinstated, it's wiped off the record, and we go on and we follow federal law from